Alright, so over here on the right side of the engine, let's start by taking off the cover. Hoping we can get away with taking this side cover off the case without having to take off the brake pedal here. If that's the case, we'll do that. Otherwise, I know the mount here for the starter, that's going to have to come off as well for that side cover to come off. The customer did have the oil drained, so that's nice. Let's go ahead and start with this bracket here. Yeah. Fortunately. Put those back in there so we don't have to be looking for those later. There you go. That way if you get nervous with these different length bolts, when you take off side covers or any parts of a machine, you'll know you have them in the right spots. If you just make a simple diagram, put some holes in it, and it'll hold it for you. Give it some soft little taps here. Oh, there's tons of oil left in that thing. Dang it. I drained the oil. Never trust the customer. Okay. We are running into our brake pedal, so we will have to disconnect that. Okay, so there's just a cotter pin here. Sometimes a pair of dikes works better. I'm not worried about destroying that cotter pin. I got more. Now my hope is I can just slide this off and let it hang. I have to take that spring off. There's the spring. And that's enough for our side cover to come off. Now we can take off what Honda calls the oil filter rotor cover here, and these are 10 mil. I want to be careful we don't damage this plate here. This guy here, make sure when you put that back on, you don't destroy that. Now, before we get any further, you'll notice that this clutch will spin one way, but as soon as I try spinning it the other way, it locks up. And that's the miracle of the one-way bearing, which we'll get in further, but it's good to check this now. Even though it's holding up to me trying to turn it like this, I bet you if I got on here with a big pipe wrench or whatever, which I'm not going to do, I could get that to slip that way. But make sure you know that direction that it spins freely and what direction it locks up on to turn the engine over. Because when you install the new one, you want to make sure that matches what was on here. There's also an O-ring on that shaft. We're going to take that too. One thing I noticed about this O-ring is that O-ring is split. I don't know if I can get that camera to focus on it. Probably not, but that O-ring is destroyed, so we will have to order a new one of those. And our plain washer comes off as well. Now your lock nut is 30 millimeter. It's a reverse thread nut. So we want righty loosey, not lefty loosey. And then our clutch should come off. Now if I can get you up in here to see it, but on that clutch basket, you spin this until you see there's a cutout right there. And that will allow you to pull the basket off, or the housing, sorry. Onto the bench. I think this middle piece should just come right out. Let's make a note before we pull this all apart. This sucker will turn clockwise, not counterclockwise. So we want to match that up. There it goes. It will just lift right out. So see, there is a lip on this, and that was facing down. So lip on this facing down. There. Put this piece back in. It'll spin clockwise, not counterclockwise. And we'll confirm that again once we get it on the machine. Here's your part number, 91101-958-003. Made in Japan. Genuine Honda part. Alright, remember we gotta rotate, see the cutout here? Should let that guy go back on. Oops. There we go. Okay, so once it's on the machine, she'll spin this way. That way she wants to turn the engine over, so that's correct. We got our clutch. There. There's a washer there. And remember our nut is counterclockwise is tighten. So in order to torque this down, Honda wants 105 to 115 Newton meters, which in American, that's like 100 foot-pounds? We'll have to do the math on that. But in order to do that, we got to hold this flywheel from turning over. Otherwise, we'll just turn the engine over. So I think Honda's got like a special flywheel holder. But on the manual, it says you can also jimmy jam a screwdriver in here. So let's get this off. Okay. I'm assuming jimmy jamming the screwdriver is going to be through here. So let's get something that'll fit, and then we can torque that down to spec on the other side. Okay, so I was wrong about those Newton meters. It turns out to be 76 to 83 foot-pounds. So I got my torque wrench set at 80. Actually, I can get away without an extension here. For all you purists, you can't get an accurate torque with an extension. I think that's been proven wrong, hasn't it? Click. Well, fun fact about these Tecton torque wrenches, they don't torque in reverse. There's no clicking action. It's just a, hopefully I didn't mess up the calibration on this. We'll have to check that. But you heard the click. You heard it from my own lips. Okay, well, I'm waiting for that O-ring to show up in the mail yet. So while I do that, the gasket here for the side cover, I couldn't find it in parts anywhere. I think, obviously, we're just going to use RTV. So we're going to have to clean that gasket off. And I'm just going to hold that up like so I can clean this gasket off and get it nice and clean so that RTV will stick nice. So let's get this all cleaned off. Guys, what was Honda doing back in the day? That gasket came off in one piece. God, I've never seen that happen before. Usually they're burnt on there and you gotta scrape them off, and I'm impressed. Okay, I'm gonna clean up this really well, make sure there's no oil on it, so then when we're ready to put that RTV on there, it's nice and clean. It's gonna make a good seal. Well, look what came in, guys. We finally got our O-ring. I ordered one, got lost in the mail, ordered another one, and it finally arrived. It's been like a month's wait. I feel bad for the customer. If you remember this one was pinched and split. So we finally got our good one here. I do want to give it a dab of the traditional dinosaur juice, 10W40. Just so that sucker doesn't get rolled on us again. That's where that guy sits. Now the manual is very clear about the teeth on this spring. It needs to sit up in here really well, so make sure we don't screw that up. See how that likes to drop down? We gotta make sure that's sitting up where it's supposed to be. definitely going to use a torque wrench on these. And Honda calls out 10 foot-pounds. Honda calls out 10 foot-pounds for these, which is 120 inch-pounds. Which we are going to have to lock the flywheel on the other side with a screwdriver again. All right, we got the other side locked. Okay, so this is cleaned up. I do want to try to dry fit it before we put the RTV gasket maker on there. I think our big issue is getting this guy onto there. Okay. So we proved that we can get it on and off with the setup that we have. I had cleaned this all up with carb clean. I gotta get more brake clean. But we're ready to put a layer of, I'm using Ultra Black Permatex. Oops. And they want you to finger tighten it, give it an hour, and then give it the torque specs. Ooh, that was funny. Also, while this Permatex is curing, we can get this brake back in place. The old cotter pin. That'll do. Did a bee get in here? Looks like a mud wasp filled these up. We're ready to tighten these down. Honda calls for 1.5 liter at disassembly. That's full. There you go, guys. That's how you replace a one-way bearing on these Honda Big Reds. 82, 83, I think are the same year. They do the same thing. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.